decided to go for a drive this morning. See the clouds over there? It's creating this beautiful light. There's a lovely ambiance at the moment. Let's get out there and see what the bush has to offer this morning.
Isn't it just an absolutely spectacular view of the mountains this morning, especially with the light? A certain amount of cloud has moved in and the sun's rays is coming through here and there, creating that beautiful light on the mountain range there, known as the Lowveld Drakensberg, or the Mountains of the Dragon. Supposedly the name comes from the perception that if you look at the range on a clear day, it looks like the back of a dragon and the tail of a dragon, with all the different protrusions on top of the range itself. It's an absolute beautiful, breathtaking area, considering that there's few places in Africa where the savanna with wild animals have a beautiful mountain range like this in close proximity. And one of the things that we also do here at Senelala, which is really very popular, is if you're on safari staying here, we can organize a scenic helicopter flight into the mountain ranges, into the canyon there, and you can get a spectacular view, or a bird's eye view, of what the mountain range and the third largest canyon in the world looks like, the Blyde River Canyon. So the Blyde River Canyon, interestingly enough, is also known as the largest green canyon in the world, meaning forested or tree-lined. And then the second largest canyon being the Fish River Canyon in Namibia, and then of course the Grand Canyon in the USA. It's a pity they moved now, but you could see a great example there of social grooming. And in this particular case, they're not really grooming each other, but they're helping swat the flies from each other's faces. It's very typical of zebra. They'd stand head to rump like that, and then aid each other in swatting the flies from each other's face with their tails. You can see how the flies are bothering them. They're shaking their heads, lifting their legs up. Tails are flickering side to side. It's summer's last push here in the middle of April to show us that it's still going to be relatively hot. And there's a lot of flies out as well. So we obviously haven't found the lion yet, but we found this place where one of the females laid down. It's really beautiful. You've got to use your imagination a little bit here, but you can see the outline of where the bum was laying. You see this fine pattern of the coat or the hair at the bottom of the bum, rubbing there on the soil. And then over here, very beautiful, you can see where the actual tail was lying. And then you've got the soil that's been pushed to the sides here. from the tail actually wagging from left to right as it was potentially lying here, maybe chasing flies away or just getting itself comfortable. You can actually see the tuft of the tail printed with the hair in the soil there. Very beautiful. We're currently looking at some red-billed quelea nests. They're large birds that flock together even when they're nesting, and they utilize these young Acacia nigrescens, the knob thorns, to build their nests in, and being quite a thick crown with thorns, the tree obviously then offers really good protection from any potential predators that may want to try and get to these nests. These colonies, the nesting colonies, are often thousands strong, if not more, and it's quite a sight, an incredible sound when you sit close to these nests and listen to these birds when they come in to roost and get into the nests. What's probably more interesting and amazing is there's often a lot of predatory birds associated within close proximity to these nesting colonies. A lot of different species of eagle that then prey on the birds at the nesting sites. So even though the thorn trees and the thick crowns offer a certain amount of protection, there is some birds that are unfortunately preyed upon. But the fact that there's so many together at the same time, there's an interesting scientific principle called the dilution effect, which simply means that so many young are produced at the same time that a lot of them get away, and thus the colony can survive. That same principle applies to impala. When impala basically all lamb together, they flood the market, so to speak, with young lambs. And even though the lambs are heavily preyed upon because they're relatively vulnerable, there's so many at the same time that a large percentage of the population do actually get away and then are able to continue into adulthood. Three little warthog. Whoop. It's so funny to watch them. They always think they're being chased by something. Obviously, being at the bottom of the food chain, they're very vulnerable, and then as a result of that, very aware of what goes on around them and respond to the slightest inclination that something's not normal or the way it should be, so they often don't hang around for too long.